Alright everybody, and welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Lemax Darkhaven Lodge. Let's get into it. Okay, so sending a shout out to my neighbor who sold me a wonderful collection of Lemax products during his move. He absolutely loves Spooky Town, and let me tell you, he took wonderful care of these houses. So he was kind enough to sell me his lot. There is another video on my channel, it's probably out by now, of part of that lot. But anyways, this is another one, so let's get into the facts. Here we go. This is Darkhaven Lodge. It was released in 2007 and was retired in 2019. SKU number off the top is 75499. Now for some dimensions. We have 9.06 inches high, 9.06 inches wide, apparently identical, and 5.71 inches in depth. Product type, sights and sounds, and it is made of my ultra favorite porcelain. All right, let's talk power. This thing is a 4.5 volt DC unit. Now prepare yourself for the draw on this. It's an older school unit, so you're looking at 520 milliamps. That's right, 520 of them. So be really careful when you're using a power supply on this, because depending on which one you have, it may not be powerful enough. If you're using one of the standard ones from today's time, most of those are 1,000 milliamps, so you're good to go. But if you have like a, an older school one, I think they were like 500 milliamps or something, that is not enough for this house, and it would overheat and eventually short it out, or even worse, cause a fire. So be really cautious about that. I would also advise keeping this off one of those multi-adapters. I know you can use up to 1,000 milliamps on them and they'll be fine, all that stuff. I've heard it, I know, but here's the thing, guys. Like most of us, including me, if you plug one of these with 500 something milliamp draw on one of those multi-adapters, you're going to be tempted to plug in a couple other items. Next thing you know, you're at max capacity, and it could just be bad for everybody. I've tried this, it just doesn't end well. So be cautious. Those multi-adapters do work great and they're awesome for some houses, but let's be honest, they're really perfect for those table accent kind of pieces and lights and things like that. But if you have something like, this kind of house on one of those, you really got to be careful of the calculation of those milliamps. I also would recommend that you never go over 3/4 on those drawing for the multi-adapters. But anyways, everybody has their own opinion on that. That's just kind of mine. I've talked about that before. As for your switch, it's going to be a standard power volume roll switch. And yes, this one has a soundtrack. That's right. The original price on this was $59.99. And to think that, back then, $59.99 seemed like a lot. But if you think about prices today and then look back on something like this, what an incredible deal. However, the flip side of the coin is that today they are roughly $150. So be a little cautious when you're looking to purchase one of these. Again, if you purchase this close to the season, you can expect that number to skyrocket. But on average, today they're about $150. And yes, there are some out there. They're a little easier to find than some of the other houses, so you should be able to get yourself one. As for the weight, this thing is almost 4 pounds. Yes, it's extremely heavy in comparison to most of the houses today. But yeah, 4 pounds. So that about wraps up all of the facts. Now it's time we take a closer look. Okay, so starting from the top, there is so much to see here, so we're not going to cover everything, but I'm going to hit the main points. Looking at the roof, it is brilliantly contrasted in color, and there's even like these little spike things like you'd see maybe at a graveyard or something like that, kind of along the top. They're a little broken up. It's a really great effect. The roof has a lot of different depths to it, including a couple different chimneys and things like that. I do want to note that even though there is a lot of holes and things like that in the roof, that kind of broken out look kind of deal, it is really quiet. This house is really quiet, even with the animation and all the holes in the roof, etc. It's extremely quiet, so cheers to the old school. As we work our way to the second story here, you're going to see so much detail in the house itself, beautiful wood looking work, but it also brings us to our first man of the hour. This is the Mad Butcher. Yes, that's right. According to the Lemax website, he is a butcher. I'm not exactly sure what that has to do with being in a lodge, but nonetheless, he has an axe and he is very detailed, like extremely detailed. He's kind of tall for the doorway, so scaling may not be the best, but I understand why they did it. You want to make it as big as possible, especially because it's a showpiece. So look, he's wonderful. He moves extremely smoothly and ultimately, again, very quietly. There's also going to be a lot of different windows on the second story as well, different shapes and sizes, again, adding to that overall detail. Moving down to the bottom story. I don't even know where to start because there's so much to see. So I want to start probably with, let's see, maybe the doorway. The doorway on this is incredible. You know, a lot of times these days, especially, their doors, they're there, whatever. But this house is not like that. This entryway, this door are so detailed. It's absolutely insane, and probably some of my favorite stonework that I've ever seen on a Lemax house. I mean, this thing is just so incredibly well thought out. It just blows my mind. There's also a Dark Haven Lodge sign. Yes, it's supposed to be crooked, and it just adds a little bit of a spooky feel kind of at that angle. There's also a special menu tonight sign, a beware of ghouls sign, and I believe that the butcher is like calling out to the ghouls or something like that to kind of bring people in. You know, there's definitely something weird happening there. Continuing our journey on the first story, there is like this projection kind of thing happening in the window. It's really hard to capture on camera. Some of the faces, they're like all devils, I think, and some of them are clearer than others, even in person, but on camera they look fuzzy, but really they're relatively clear. You know, it's some, again, are a little clearer than others though, but a really cool effect. I wouldn't mind seeing some more of that in Lemax products. I've actually don't recall ever seeing something like that, or if so, very rarely in a Lemax product, but it's a great concept. I think it's something to do with the film that's behind the window to help with the projection. I'd love to know inside how that little thing works, but I'm not going to take apart a perfectly good working house to find out. But nonetheless, really effective, and at night it looks cool. Also, right in front of the window, there is a bunch of pumpkins sitting on hay. Again, detailed. They got faces. They're colored beautifully, and more of that stonework to top it off, and also some grass, which is kind of a cool little touch on this piece. As we move to the left side of the building here in front, there is like these big bushes, and again, the detail's unbelievable. But there's two characters that pop out. I'm assuming there's some of the ghouls or something like that you're, you know, working in this place. I don't know why, but looking at it kind of reminds me of something you might see in like a haunted house or something. I don't know. But anyways, nonetheless, they're detailed, they're cool, they're good size, scaling kind of works, and they're really smooth. You know, I mean, for as old as this house is, and as big of a fan as I am with the old school, normally you'd expect to hear some noises or, you know, things be a little shaky over time, but this one is like a rock, man. It just holds up. So anyway, beautiful there. Lastly, just a couple other minor details. There is some pruning tools in the front, some kind of animal thing eating like a hand or something. So there's definitely some kind of butchering going on in there. But anyway, yeah, so that's the front. Moving to the right side of the house, again, more of the best stonework I've ever seen on a Lemax house, as well as the windows even have some decal kind of things in them to just kind of top it off a little bit, if you will. There's also a box at the bottom with something going on down there. It doesn't move or anything like that, but it looks like something's trying to get out of maybe a basement or something like that. Working our way to the left side of the house, again, more windows of all different shapes and sizes, stonework, and even a little bit of a different kind of basement window or something coming up from the bottom. Lastly, looking at the back of this thing, wow. Incredible. This house will look fantastic at any angle. If you took some of those like Lemax black lights, you know, those little like Lemax ones you can put on the floor there and shine them on something, you put those on the back of this thing, it would look like a tower, man. I mean, this thing is just incredible. I cannot get over. My favorite thing, as much as I love all the animation on this piece, the stonework is no question my favorite. There's also some windows, but they're not cut out, and a little bit more woodwork, things like that. But come on. The show is totally in the front of this thing. It's built like a rock, man. I mean, this thing looks like it could take a beating. I absolutely love it. I was so blown away when I saw this. So anyways, okay, look. It's time for you to hear and see this thing in all of its glory. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the lights. That is the Lemax Dark Haven Lodge. I thank you so much for continuing to support my channel. And as always, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next one.